Alright, hello everybody, it's Andrew here. Today we're going to be talking about significant severe weather threat upcoming tomorrow, along with the tropics. Briefly with the tropics, we're mainly going to be focusing on severe weather in this video. So today we have a slight risk of severe weather. 2% tornado risk across two different areas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and then kind of the quadruple state area of Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa. 15 wind down there too. 15 hail and both slights. We're expecting both areas to have severe potential this afternoon. Tomorrow is looking like a bigger day than today. We have a slight risk centered across portions of southeast Iowa, northeast Missouri, a lot of Illinois, and portions of Indiana as well. Tornadoes are going to be possible, especially across Illinois. I think this 5% risk does get shrinked a bit. I think it probably goes more like that. But I think the main potential though is going to be hail. It's only a 15 right now, but I'm expecting a significant risk and possibly for this to get upgraded as well. Damaging winds will also be a possibility. Day 3, we also have a severe weather threat, mainly in the northeast. We're expecting an isolated damaging wind threat to be the main concern based off the SPC discussion. Here's hurricane-wise. We're going to briefly go into this. We have Tropical Storm Fiona. This is the main topic of everything right now. It is expected to become a hurricane and hit Puerto Rico, and then maybe be a hurricane right by the Dominican Republic, and then go out to sea and probably become a major. We'll have to kind of see with that, but that's kind of what current thinking is. At least a Category 2 is expected. We have 105 winds expected at the last hour of the period. 75-mile-per-hour winds when it hits Puerto Rico. Now here's a look at the HREF. This is the 12Z run. We can see we have a couple areas of flow today across here and here. Those are our two main severe zones. And then tomorrow, flow is going to be rather strong across the risk area, which is really going to increase the threat. Helicity tracks here. We have a better confidence in Minnesota, but Iowa looks decent too today. And I can actually zoom into the Midwest region. Yeah, you can see Iowa pretty confident in large hail and wind gusts tonight. Tomorrow, we're starting to get very high confidence in the potential for some strong to severe storms. I think this is probably going to be a little bit to the north and east with the next update, but we have high confidence, a 70 contour even in here too. The surface-based storms are going to happen throughout this period right here from 0Z to 03Z, probably more like 22 to 02Z, but we're going to have potential for severe weather throughout the day tomorrow. Hail is going to be the main threat, I think. Damaging winds and a few tornadoes are also going to be possible. Here's a look at what we have synoptic-wise, at least on the HRRR model. So, we can see, going throughout the area here, we can see here's today. Today we have a couple areas of flow, one across Minnesota, 39 knots, and then almost 40 knots here across Iowa and Nebraska. This system across Iowa and Nebraska is generally expected to strengthen and become rather strong tomorrow, bring a very strong amount of surface wind or middle-level wind shear across the state of Illinois, and this is going to produce this pretty good severe weather threat. In combination with that, we're expecting the low-level jet to increase. Now, here across Iowa, we're expecting the low-level jet to increase pretty significantly tonight. Taking a sounding there in kind of southwest Iowa, we have a large hodograph, but the big problem here is the inversion. This is going to really decrease tornado potential across that area, but make for some good structure. The lower-level jet also looks pretty strong across Illinois tomorrow and Missouri. Even throughout the day, as we have this little MCV feature kind of come through. And it leaves by 20 to 30 knots of flow, which will be enough given the environment. Looking at, let's see here, what else do we... Here's the dew points. Right now, we're probably going to see dew points in the low 70s in some areas today. We can see this moisture stream comes up for tomorrow, and we start to see widespread dew points in Illinois and Missouri and Missouri and Iowa into the 70s. This is going to produce a rather moist atmosphere. Heat indexes will also be rather high tomorrow. across the risk area, given the combination of temperatures near 90 degrees and dew points in the 70s. There is going to be a boundary, though, in play. Wherever the boundary is, that's where you're going to have your higher severe threat overall. And we can see heat indexes in the 90s where the boundary isn't at. Going more into kind of the overall picture with this here, we'll start more locally because we'll start across the Midwest here, as we'll talk about today too. So here is today, kind of the rest of the situation for today. Storms are expected to fire. Well, we already have a storm in Kansas, but we're expecting more storms to fire, probably 0Z, even in Minnesota as well, and these will kind of progress eastward. This will provide morning convection across Illinois, which probably will not be a great thing, but these could lay out boundaries for later storms. We can see there's this kind of boundary that kind of gets laid out from these storms that's generally across this area. Anywhere south of the boundary is going to be unstable for tornado threat. We can see supercells start to get going off the boundary at 22Z if we look at a sounding in front of one. Mainly supportive of hail with that storm right there. Another storm fires near Springfield. That one could have a tornado threat. We have a very enlarged photograph here, along with a moderate thermodynamic profile in between the red and the white lines. 3 Cape is not great, but it's enough. Our wind shear overall is decent. You have a less capping inversion. You still have a cap right there. It's a weak one, so the storm could drill through it. Good surface seeding as well. So this is all kind of getting into the range of severe weather here. Large hail, very large hail is going to be possible as well. 23Z, we start to see a big amount of storms start to go off. These storms in Fulton County will probably have a pretty good tornado threat with them. HRRR has been consistently showing rather good soundings with not so big of an inversion. We can see here's the sounding now. The surface winds are not the best on this, but our photograph is very supportive for amazing storm structure, and I will likely be chasing this event. Also supportive of very large hail, given our pretty good mid-level winds, and it's well vented too. Strong lapse rates, 3 Cape's pretty good, our surface cap isn't terrible, our instability is also moderate, which is pretty solid too. 50 knots of cloud layer shear, deep layer shear, 40 knots. This is all kind of contributing to our severe threat. Now, if you're watching this for the general public, we're expecting strong wind shear and strong instability to all come together and bring us a severe threat. Large to very large hail is going to be the main threat. Secondary threats are a few tornadoes and scatter damaging wind gusts, potentially a significant gust or two. Tornadoes are still possible tomorrow. I think the main window for tornadoes, though, is probably going to be from 22Z, which is 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, through probably 9 o'clock at night, which was 2Z. Past then, storms become elevated, and once storms become elevated, the tornado risk greatly decreases on that storm. So, having an elevated storm means that large hail and damaging winds are going to take over as the main threat, and we see that here between the HRRR, and then this cluster kind of dies. Here's a look at our max helicity tracks throughout the next couple of days. We can see they really start to get going across Illinois, and we have helicity tracks piling up and longer tracking supercells as well. You can see portions of Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois just get hammered with this. I would say the area with the highest confidence right now, this area has had consistency between the HRRR model at least, is probably right in here. But that's going to be the general main area, is right there, given the main models, or given the models showing this area being quite consistent. Now, here's a closer up view of this, so you can find your city. Now, note that this is not going to be 100% correct with the evolution, but this gives us a general idea. Places like Peoria, Champaign, Springfield, Kankakee, Galesburg, Quincy, Macomb are all going to be under the gun. Lincoln as well. Here are some other models to give you some other things. Now, other models are not so supportive of the severe threat. These models fire a little bit later than what I would think would actually happen. And also is a little bit south as well, which is interesting. We have another model called the NSSL. Um, every single model shows the morning convection, but everything kind of charges in the afternoon, which makes sense. Here's another model. This is the HRW FV3. Now, this model is a little bit bullish sometimes, which can make it not so great. But here it actually gives us a realistic solution, actually quite similar to the HRRR. Here's the NAM 3 kilometer. This model typically gives us more of a linear solution than what would actually happen. And it actually doesn't do that here. It gives us a more realistic solution. Now, I think it's a little bit too far to the west, but we'll see throughout the next couple of days. Now, going back to the general ingredients, we're going to look at the HRRR here. We're going to stop this at 23Z. So this is mixed layer cape. This is an ingredient needed for severe weather. Moderate amounts of it are in play, especially in here. This is going to be where a lot of our energy is. And I think the main threat with HRRR is kind of generally in here. You have a lot of energy. You have a lot of wind shear. Wind shear overlapping the energy is pretty good as well. And you can see that with the surface-based cape and hodographs map. And we can see it's pretty well done across this area. There's also higher 3 cape along the boundary, which is another needed ingredient for tornado genesis and really only tornadic stuff. Let's see, and something else that we can look at here is kind of our overall precipitation. Sorry for jumping around, but flooding is going to be a big threat. Wherever this huge band of storms fires off, 2 to 4 plus inches of rain is going to be possible. More like probably 1 to 3, 4 to 5 locally in some areas would be possible. Now here's another hodograph map. This is from the RAP over on College of DuPage, and we can see, again, generally a favorable air mass is going to really kind of present itself across portions of Illinois. Surface vorticity in 3 cape is also pretty decent across that area, which will enhance the threat as well. Now, it does decrease overnight as that line kind of pushes through, though. We're also watching a severe threat for Monday as well. Monday would be further to the east. And it looks like the NAM 3 kilometer is not too hot on Monday unless it shows more up in the northeast. And no, it really doesn't. So Monday doesn't look that great, at least on the NAM 3 kilometer. We'll have to see other models over the next few days on how they handle it. But that will do it for this one. Make sure if you are in the area that you have multiple ways to receive warnings, as this is going to be an evening and overnight event for Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Missouri tomorrow. Again, main threats are going to be very large hail, a few tornadoes, and scatter damaging wind gusts as well. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you guys have a wonderful weekend and start to your week.